Hi guys, it's your girl Casey Pat. Welcome back to my YouTube channel, and in today's video I'll be showing you how to make this lovely Ankara Bubu dress. So this is a combination of black and Ankara fabric, and I'll be working with 1.5 yards of Ankara. So I'm going to fold this 1.5 yards of Ankara into 4 as you see me do. I folded this into 4, and I'll be cutting both the front and back piece together. The part that I'm marking out is the zipper allowance. You just mark that out on yours, and then we're just going to go straight into marking our measurements. So the first thing I'm just going to do is to mark my neckline for both the back and the front. Remember, this is on fold, and the front neckline that I used 3 inches, 3 inches across, 3 inches below, while the back neckline I used 2 inch to 1.5 inches below, 3 inches across. And I also measured my shoulder, and for your shoulder you're just going to extend 1 or 2 inches depending on how wide you want that extension on the shoulder to be for the black before joining the Ankara fabric, because that's how the design is. So quickly I'll just mark in all my measurements: the bust line, the waistline, the hip line, and as well as the knee and the full length. For my hip line, I'm working with 26. This is my client's low hip measurement. Instead of 24, which is her hip measurements, I'm working with 26, and I divided her hip by 4 as well, and subtracted 2 inches from the hip measurement that I got. For her bust line, which is for her bust point, which is 8 inches, I divided it by 4, which gave me 4. I divided it by 2, which gave me 4 inches, and I added 1 inch, making it 5. Same thing that I had on that bust line, I transferred it to my waistline. And for the knee length, I didn't work with length of 40. I subtracted 2 inches from that knee length. So when I subtracted 2 inches from it, gave me 38, and that was what I applied there. And for the circumference, what I applied was what I subtracted from my hip. 2 inches from what I got on my hip was what I applied to the knee length. And what I have on my knee length, I also subtracted 2 inches for the full length. Now going back to the neck, it has a keyhole kind of neckline. I moved down 4 inches from my neckline, from my what I had cut from my leg. I moved down, and that was how I got 4 inches for that, for my keyhole line. So for the back, just moving, check my channel if you've not watched how to go in for your zip point. I moved in 0.5 for where my zip is going to sit, and I extended that on my black fabric, on the crepe fabric. So, and that would only be on the back. That's clearly on the back. Because I'm cutting this together, by the time I'm done separating the material, I'm going to cut that out on the front piece. So basically, this is just how you go about putting in all these measurements. Then afterwards, I hope I explained this part well, where like the keyhole opening, just go down 4 inches for your keyhole opening, and that's it. I'm cutting the front and the back piece together, but I'll separate the back and then cut the facing for this keyhole opening. So quickly, I'll do that and also show you how I went about that. I didn't cut the keyhole opening, like I didn't open it till I went to the sewing machine to sew that down and all that, so that it would not shift when I'm sewing it. But that's basically what you have for the crepe fabric. So this is me cutting out that excess that I made, that extra that I made for the back on the front. I'm cutting it out for the front. So that's what you have for that. So this part is where I'm cutting out the neckline for the front, having separated the front and the back at this point. So the next thing you're going to do is to just get a facing. Like you see, I'm not using a lining for this particular style because the crepe fabric I'm using is very thick. So I don't even need I don't need a lining for. But if you want to line yours, probably you're not using a thick fabric, that's fine. You can decide to line yours. But all I did was just to cut out a facing that will be able to accommodate the keyhole line that I had marked for the front piece. So that's basically all we have for this for this black crepe. And I'm just extending the extra line of the keyhole. That's what you should have on yours. The next thing you have to do is to introduce your Ankara. As you can see, I folded this Ankara into 4. I'm using a 4 yards of Ankara, but at the end of the day, you just be needing 3.5. The remaining part, I used it for my client's scarf. So you would see that I placed this black fabric on the tip of that Ankara, and I shaped that the shape that we have on the black crepe. You would see that I tried to shape it on this Ankara, and that's the shape we would be cutting out. I also went ahead to mark some very sensitive points, the hip, the waist, so that I would notch those points. By the time I'll be joining it, I'll use pin to hold them down so that it doesn't shift. Then I marked 18 inches down from the shoulder and also notched it. This is the part where we would be gathering together. Would gather that part together because that's how the style is. So we're just gonna ruffle that part. That's basically, so I explained that you can decide to curve that edge or decide to leave it plain depending on how full you want your Ankara to be. But in my case, I just curved it a little bit out. But if you do not want it curved, you can leave it like that. So this is what I just curved out, something very little. So you can decide to also curve out yours or leave that edge that way. So by the time you're done doing this, the next thing would be to go over to your sewing machine and sew down the keyhole opening like I mentioned. So by the time I was done sewing it, I now slashed it open and ironed it properly. So the next thing you're going to be doing is to also join the shoulder part together, that of the front and that of the back. You join this together and go ahead to attach your Ankara. Remember the parts that I notched the shoulder part, where the shoulder of the Ankara will be sitting with that of the black fabric. So that was what I did. Just place that notched part. Use pins if possible to hold this part. It could be very tricky so that it doesn't shape, but if you feel that you can sew without pinning it down, that's also clearly your choice. But I used pins to hold mine down so that it doesn't shift. Then what I did to this side, I also did to the other side of this fabric. And I also went to the sewing machine to join them all together. And that was it for that. By the time I was done joining all the pieces together, I came back to measure my neckline. So I measured the neckline all round, as you can see me do, and then I cut a strap that will be able to fit into that neck measurement. A strap of about 4 inches. I used 4 inches strap, and by the time you sew that strap into outside and seal it up, next thing you have to do is to put your zip. So after doing that, after attaching your zip, you also have to gather the point of the point that I mentioned earlier. So that the excess that you had given, you gather that point, gather all of that. You can decide to pleat, you can decide together. And also I cut out a black strap of about 3 inches on fold actually. So by the time you fold, it's going to give you 1.5. So 1.5 was what I had there, and I will place that on that edge and seal also the part by the time I attach, just like I did to the neckline. whatever I'm doing to this side, remember I'm also going to do to the other side of the sleeve, right? So I also did the same thing to the other side of the sleeve, and the next thing after that will be to join the sides of this dress, right? So the next thing is to join the sides of the dress, and after joining the sides of the dress, the next thing you would have to do is to take your client's measurements. So at this point, I had put in all of that, put in the zip, as you can see, and I had also put in the black straps. I also went ahead to hem my dress, and all I'm going to do at this point is to make sure that I place this dress properly before taking the measurement of my client. So I marked the shoulder to armhole space for my client, and also put in her bust measurement divided by 2. Also put in her waist measurement divided by 2, her hip measurement divided by 2, and the full length where I want the stitch to stop. So I brought down the hip measurement to that point, and that's it. This dress has no slit, so I didn't sew it to the very last part of the dress, just like you would do on a butterfly dress. Yeah. So I'm pinning this down so that it doesn't shift. Pin this down carefully and make sure it doesn't shift. And by the time you're done pinning it down, just go to your sewing machine and run a straight stitch on the lines that you have marked, and basically that's all you have. And yeah, this is the end result of our dress. I hope this video has been helpful. If this video has been helpful to you, please do well to like, share, and subscribe to my YouTube channel to encourage me to keep posting out videos there. Thank you so much. Bye. See you in my next video.